Okay, no more gatekeeping. Today I'm going through my entire process of how I edit hype sports videos. I'll be taking you through how I cull my selects, how I choose music to edit to, how I put all the footage and the music together, then how I color grade, sound design it, and even put some visual effects on top of the footage. So what I'll be editing today is a season highlight reel from a high school player that hired me out to go to their whole season. There were a couple players that did this, and so I just went out, got a bunch of the game's footage, and I'm gonna be putting together a highlight reel for one of the players here today. You can check out the other two players on my Instagram. If they're not there right now, they should be there in a couple days as I finish up these edits. The purpose of these highlight reels for these players and the incentive for them to buy them is either for them to show to college scouts if they want to, try to get into colleges for sports, or if they just want to have really cool videos of themselves, dope footage of them playing football in high school. Either one is fine. This video is going to be just a little bit longer. I didn't want to make it super, condensed because I just wanted to pull back the curtains on my entire process of editing. So bear with me. I very much appreciate your time and attention, and I want to make the most of it. So let's get into it. Also, if there's certain parts of the editing process that you're more interested in than others, there's going to be chapters along this video, so you can just kind of scrub through and figure out what you're most interested in. Watch from there. So I'm actually going to start off this video by mentioning a couple things that I should have talked about in the filming football video. Those things are: get a variety of shots. Don't just focus on the plays happening, but actually get a variety of shots of stuff before and after each play, during the game, before and after the game even. Some examples are cheerleaders, coaches, crowd, players before and after plays, the team's logos on the field, or whatever else. Number two, don't just be in one spot. Nobody wants to see a bunch of shots from one spot. Move around with the players if you can, and even if all the plays are happening on one side of the field, move your position anyways. Move around that side of the field, get different vantage points. You should also be moving from shoulder height to kind of chest or stomach height down to knee height, or even the ground. Being low to the ground is my favorite way to film because it just makes everybody look bigger and it looks really cool and it looks different. I film everything horizontal and 4K. Even if I'm gonna make a social media edit out of that, I shoot it in horizontal 4K. The reason I do that is because when you're filming something as fast moving, especially as football or basketball or really sports at all, when you're filming something that is so fast moving and you're doing it on a vertical frame, it's so easy for them to leave the frame and all of a sudden you're trying to find them, right? But if you're on a horizontal frame, you can keep them within that frame a lot easier. And then in post, it just requires a little bit more keyframing, or if you're in DaVinci Resolve, you can use their auto frame deal, and it just keeps the player in the center of the frame the whole time, no matter where they went. And so that's why I shoot horizontal and then cropped vertical. So I'll be editing in DaVinci Resolve today, but pretty much this whole thing is applicable to Premiere Pro or Final Cut or whatever, maybe besides the color grading process, but the rest of it is pretty much applicable to whatever software you use. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I actually cull my selects and figure out which clips stay in and which don't. Most of it's pretty straightforward because you're just figuring out which plays were good and which weren't. But sometimes it's a little bit more than that because you've got to figure out here's some B-roll of the coaches or the cheerleaders or whatever else is going on. So right now we're just looking at the log version of all of the footage. Sometimes I'll color it right here so that it's a lot, more pleasing to the eye. You know what? In fact, I think I'm going to do that now. Why is PowerPoint opening? Stupid PowerPoint. Don't open. Nobody wants you. I'm just going to be applying just a basic look just so that I can start editing. So just scrubbing through these first two clips right here, you can see that it's, it goes from dark and red to bright and green almost. And what's causing this is that it's the banding in the stadium lights. And the reason that this is happening, and it's only with these first two clips, is because I was shooting in 4K 120. And because I was shooting in 4K 120, my shutter speed had to be at 1/240. And that shutter speed was just too much for those lights to handle. They weren't good enough stadium lights to come through at a shutter speed of 240. And so I had to turn it back down to 4K 60, which meant my shutter speed was at 120. And as you can see, as I'm scrubbing through the rest of these clips, that performed much, much, much better. In other stadiums, I've been able to crank the shutter speed a little bit more and bump up my FPS to 120 instead of just 60. It's cooler because you can slow it down a little bit more, but 60 frames a second is already 2.5 times slower than 24. So 60 is just fine. And when I go through this, I'm just going to turn on selection follows playhead so that I don't have to click on each clip as I just scrub through this with the arrow buttons, it'll just automatically select the clip, and that's so much easier. So as I'm going through these, what I'm looking for, obviously, first thing is good plays. But then second thing is if I'm shooting B-roll before a play, like for example, this one right here, I was shooting number 11 before the play started. I'm gonna mark that a certain color. For me, that's gonna be purple, and then I'm just gonna put that, up a layer right there. So I know that's B-roll. This one also looks like it's just B-roll before the play was happening. Oh, nope, the play happened. And since it was, our team was on defense and their team only got a couple yards, I'm going to focus on the beginning of this play, which was B-roll. Cut that clip there, make it purple, and go up. Layer 1 is all of the clips that I've got here. Layer 2 is purple, and it's B-roll. And yes, I do both color the clips and put them on different layers. It just makes it easier for a little bit later when we're putting everything together. Okay, so the 2 players that I was hired to be at this game for, number 11 and number 18, and so I'm really looking for whenever they make a play. So this is a good example right here. Man, that was a good tackle by him. I should have focused on number 11 when he came up. I was kind of focused on the other team. I don't know why. Maybe I was just following the ball that play. Sometimes I'll follow a player. Sometimes I'll follow the ball. But yeah, that was a good play. So I'm going to put his color and then move it up 2 layers for him. Yeah, his color is pink. I know. Sorry. It's just what I've been doing in the other games leading up to this. I don't know why. Probably because the keys are just that close to each other. That play was a dud. Nothing happened at it. I'm just going to leave it there. That's a pitch. Number 18. That's one I needed. He doesn't really get any yardage. But because he got the pitch, and I might just use that as like a little clip, not the whole play as a highlight. But I may use that clip, so I'll just put his color on it, which is yellow. Put it up a layer. I always start recording way before the play actually starts. You can see here I'm kind of zooming in, finding my frame, and then the play starts. And so on my timeline here as I'm editing, that's over like half the clip before the play is actually started. So I'll just, I don't want to watch all that in real time. I just scrub to where the play starts, and then, cut, and then there we go. Start my clip. And that play is an example of a dud. Just went nowhere. Play action. He throws it. Hey, that was good. Number 11 caught that. I zoomed out so that I'm not a wizard, okay? The people that film the NFL are freaking wizards. They can have their lens that zooms into 600 millimeter super tight on the football as it's coming towards them. And I'm like, dude, I'm using autofocus here. You can use manual focus. You'll probably get better results. It just takes a lot longer to dial in. I should probably start getting better at manual focus, but I just do autofocus. And so here I am, I've zoomed out so that I can make sure that I get the player and the play in focus. And then in post here, I'll just kind of like zoom in. That's too much. But see, that's just 200% zoom. And already, as he catches this, I'm just going to make this another layer, 40%. Already, just 200% zoom and slowed down, that makes it a little bit easier, and I can keyframe that so that, I think I'm going to keyframe that so that you can see the ball going through it the whole time. But those 2 things, just slowing it down and zooming in by 200%, that's why I shoot in 4K, so I don't lose, that much quality. Those 2 things make such a big difference. Keep on running it. Okay, here's a shot of me getting the cheerleaders. That's a fine shot, but you can tell it's on a telephoto lens. It doesn't feel like I'm very close to them. I could have done a better job and hopped on a wide lens for that. Also, the focus just had a heck of a time hunting for that. I also tried to get some of the crowd, but they were not cheering at all. This is going to be a good cutaway shot more than anything. Oh, play action. He fooled me. I went with the run. Throws it downfield. Oh, my focus lost. My focus lost itself for a second. There he goes. Number 11 catches it, runs it in. What a play. That's definitely going on the highlight reel. And see, I could honestly end the play. I could have ended the recording right after he scored the touchdown. But it's right here when he's like high-fiving all the players. And let's see. Yeah, I wanted to get him as he came back to the coach. Hopefully. Oh, I missed it. Oh, there it is. There it is. Let's go. I got it. I love that reaction. Cool. I want some good tackles. Oh, I think Oh, I kind of missed it, but that was a good play. Man, he came out of nowhere, and that's exactly the kid I needed too. Ah, my focus missed. See, maybe I should get better at manual focus, because I think I could do that play where he just comes towards me. Instead, my camera and my framing was just a little out too. They like leave the frame for just a second. But it's fine. It's still a good play, and I'm sure he'd still like it. I still want it for the highlight reel because it's still a highlight. It's just bad on my part for sort of missing it. Oh, right there, those two players together. Real good friends. They're the two that hired me out for the season. That's exactly what I want. Another thing I should have talked about when I was filming sports, not editing sports, but when you're filming sports, you can nail the shot 10 times. Nail the composition, the framing, the focus, like you can get everything perfect 10 times in a row, but the play sucks. Like nothing happens with the play. But then the second they make a good play, you have to nail your shot, because if you miss your shot while they nail their play, score a touchdown, get a 20-yard pass, run for 90 yards, and you miss it, sorry, you missed it. This is what I mean by getting good coach B-roll. He gets hyped after every touchdown, hypes up all the players, and so I just got to be in my spot, stay in my lane, and wait and get in a good spot to film him. So now that we've gone through an entire game, you can see each player here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plays for Trace, number 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plays for, or maybe, and if they're not, sometimes they're not always plays, sometimes they're just like B-roll. I just color coded to that specific player. This up here is just another player that contacted me after the season, seeing if I had any existing plays of them. An entire game, you're lucky if you get more than 5 highlights for each player. So that's the culling section. So last time I filmed, I went through and I culled and I selected all of the best clips from a game's worth of footage. Now I'm going to go find music to edit the footage to. I use Artlist. Most of the football videos that I do, and I imagine most people will do, go onto social media. And so as long as it's a song on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, you can usually get away with editing to whatever song you like. But if you're going to put it on YouTube, like for the sake of this video, you need to find something that's going to be licensable. And it's probably smartest to just license all of your music anyways. But yeah, so I use Artlist. Now when you're finding music to edit to, obviously you want to figure out like what's the mood you want to convey. With most sports recap highlight videos, a really like hype, usually rap, or just something really like with a cool or intense beat works really well. Sometimes they have collections that, you know, fit the style that I'm looking for. Oh look, they've got like a football Super Bowl collection right here. Let's see if any of these songs fit the vibe I'm going for. Too basic. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't fit right either. It's like cinematic. It's like epic. That's a cool song. I don't know if it's quite right for this project. I'll show you an example of one of my past football videos that I've done and kind of the visuals for that. And so sometimes, you know, I'll just watch like some of my past football videos, or I'll watch the footage that I'm about to edit, or I'll watch like, you know, another person's footage just to see if the footage is actually going to match the music and be cohesive. We'll go here, next song. I could see it working. I just don't like how it doesn't have lyrics. Specifically for this. Maybe if I was that song might be better for like a talking head. I use that on one of my YouTube videos. Yeah, I'm not really finding it. Sometimes these collections are crap. I'm just gonna go over here and filter out certain things. So I know that I want hip hop, more of like a rap or trap style. I'm not really wanting something super cinematic. Most of the people that are watching this are gonna be teenagers or young 20s or whatever, and they just want a dope song along with dope footage. That's a legitimate contender. That's not a bad song. But I usually don't like downloading the first song that I see, because I know if it's the first song I see, it's the first song that a lot of people are gonna see. So at times that also means that it's the best song. So I mean, pick your poison. God, never let him know. Only thought you should know. This ain't no regular thing. I came for the ring. You know what I mean? I shoot my shot in this clean. This from my city, yeah, this from my team. The game is in trouble. I've been in my death for the piece of the puzzle. I got it for real. Okay, so as I'm listening to this song, I can already feel out different parts of the video. For example, the start of that first verse where there's no beat under it, but just the guy rapping. I could have some slower parts or some build-up parts, maybe some like B-roll, and then obviously when the beat hits, have him like catch the ball or have him like make a good play or something like that. Yeah, I'm feeling good about that. Let's download this song. So this play where he throws it deep and I zoom out, I'm gonna have as the first highlight of the video, but I'm gonna build up to that with B-roll. And let's see, what parts of the song do I even want to use? This ain't no regular thing. I came for the ring. I might just go with that. Pretty strong start. Yeah, okay. So let's have this play be the first beat drop. And I'm going to trim this down to what I'm going to use. I'm only going to focus on the song right now, so I'm just having that layer be solo, so I don't have to listen to any of the game footage quite yet, because right now I'm just getting the structure of the video figured out. Clips on top of the song. After that, I go through and adding sound effects and all that different stuff. Okay, so I want to start maybe right when he snaps it, maybe right before. And I might even do slow motion when... Oh, shoot. I didn't put this in a vertical timeline. Copy everything from this timeline. Bring it over and just delete. Instead of just staying on the ball and tracking through the entire shot, I may just start with the quarterback throwing it, and then maybe right there catch it like the ball in the air or something. I gotta have this zoom out so I can see the whole thing before I. Right there. So we're gonna cut out just a hair more right there. That needs to be zoomed in a little so I can kind of see the quarterback a little bit better. It's just, framing is not ideal, but... Okay, so you get the idea that he's throwing the ball there. I like that. We're gonna start with this slow and go fast. Because he catches it. He catches it right there. Man, I wish I was on the other side of the field, but that's fine. He catches it right there. I'm gonna forget about the music for a second. It's driving me crazy. He catches it right there, but that's only, what, a second into the new clip. I think I want to just make that a little longer of wait time. So just gonna make this. So all I'm doing here is speed ramping. Just making this first part. So the second part here is 100% speed because that's the speed of the clip. The first part, okay, so I think this was shot in 60 frames a second, so I can slow this down to 40. If you shoot it in 120 frames a second, you can slow it down all the way down to 20%, because 24 is 20% of 120. You know, slowing the speed down. I don't know if that makes any sense, frames per second. And I need to zoom this in quite a bit, but it's fine. I can do that in just a second. But let's see if the timing looks good with the music. This ain't no regular thing. I don't like that cut. What I might do to combat that is with this first clip, I may do the same thing where I have it slow down as it goes into the second one. Okay, so right there, he throws it, and then let's slow that down afterwards. I'm gonna add a speed point. And I'm gonna change the speed to, oh, I have to go down here. I'm gonna change the speed to 40%. Then I'm just gonna make this a little bit more gradual, and not quite that gradual. Make it like that. Yeah, okay. Actually, I'm gonna have it go a little further into the clip before I slow it down. Yeah, okay, I like that. So, stupid music. So he throws it, slows down, and then I'm not gonna have it go on as long as it does, but that's the gist of what I wanna do. I wanna slow it down, start into the next clip with it slow. Ball's in the air, he catches it, you get the gist. Okay, now let's try it. I just wish I was on that side of it, dude. I should do this with a better clip, but this is the first clip that I'm actually putting onto music. It's gonna be in the final export, and so this right here is literally what I'm gonna build the entire edit off of. So I just, want you to kind of see my process as I start putting these things together, these clips together. There's a better clip with better composition, but I'll do that one in just a second. Throws it slow motion. I'm gonna have this one start a hair later. Yeah, I like that. And I might, maybe there's too much hang time with the football. Let's see that. Just a hair, I don't like how much hang time there is with the football. So I'm just gonna delete that. We'll go into this one's retime controls. Okay, that's better. And then right when he catches it, I'm gonna try to time that just because let's see, where's the ball? Right there. That's where I'm gonna have this speed point come in, and that's when the clip's gonna speed back up. Let's make that more gradual so it's not so abrupt. Not quite that gradual though. I do want it to be a pretty quick change. Cool. So I got the timing all figured out. I don't know if I want to hang on to all of this footage afterwards. Ooh, I do like that. I like that. The player's hyping him up. Now that I've got the clip's time figured out, I'm just gonna go in here and make sure that the framing and the zoom looks good. Obviously, the composition of the original shot is not the best because it just happened so far away from my camera. I can do this both manually and automatically. I think DaVinci Resolve has some auto alignment tool in here where you can select your subject, and then DaVinci will make sure that that subject is always in the exact center of your frame. I think that tool is great. I also think it works better when a subject is easy to detect, and you can tell through this clip that football, man, it's so hard to detect exactly what the subject is for DaVinci Resolve. So I'm just gonna do this one manually. And I've always in the past done it manually. I've never used an automatic tool, but now that I'm using DaVinci and not Premiere, I can tap into that automatic tool as long as I get the composition in the actual video clip right. But for this one, I just gotta deal with doing it manually. So I'm gonna go in here, and then we're gonna use a lot of keyframes here. I'm gonna start off by zooming, zoom to about 1.3, and then we need to go find the football again. Football's right there. Let's see, top of the clip is that. Okay. And then it looks pretty good right till about there, and then it leaves the center of the frame. And so right there, when it leaves the center of the frame, that's when I'm gonna put a keyframe. And I'm just gonna, as it goes along, until it stops moving, I'm gonna go right there. And then let's see, that keeps it in the center for a bit longer. So now as we go throughout this, I've just gotta keep him in the center of the frame the whole time. Every time he leaves the center, and I don't want quite the exact center. I want there to be a little bit more lead room than room behind him. But as you can see, he kind of starts to leave the frame there. Another keyframe. Go forward a couple frames to about there, and then just bring him right back. This is literally why I shoot horizontal instead of vertical, because if I was shooting vertical right now, and he moves and I lose sight of him in my camera, I can't get that back. Like he's gone. He's not in it. But since I'm shooting in horizontal and I aim to keep him in the center of the horizontal frame, if he goes a little to the left or a little to the right, in post, right here, I can reframe that to keep him in the frame for a vertical post. So we're just gonna go through this whole clip and pretty much keep him in the center as best as I can. And that is pretty good for the rest of the clip. And it's not 100% perfect the entire time with the framing of keeping him exactly in the center. If you were to use an automatic tool like DaVinci's reframing or whatever it's called, it likely would make it look too perfect. And that's a style. It's a look. I might use it for some of these clips. Who knows? But I just like the natural look of, oh, you know, it's a person filming this. Of course, it's not going to be 100% perfectly framed in the center the entire time. I like to be a little bit forgiving with myself. I need forgiveness. We're going to see if this looks good, sounds good with the music. So beat drop, here we come. Okay, and I kind of like to edit to the beats of the music. I don't stay married to the beats of the music. Sometimes I like to just switch it up so that it's not super predictable. If you start going 1 beat, 2 beat, 3 beat, 4 beat, it's super predictable and almost boring. Give the people what they want. Give them something different. Next play, I'll do 1 or 2 more of these. Okay, so right there when he starts to motion, that's when I'm gonna cut. That's what's gonna start us. Is him motioning. Maybe we'll even do that in slow motion. Kind of got some bokeh right here. I can zoom in, get some more depth field almost feeling. I want that to be in slow motion. Let's do it. I'm gonna disconnect it from the audio clip. Bring up the curve controls again. You can do this in any program. This is just, you know, DaVinci Resolve's version of speed ramping. So right before the play starts, when the play starts, that's when I'm gonna bring it back to real-time speed. Right before that, I want that to just be slow. Since this is focusing on one player instead of a whole team, I want the parts where he's in frame and he's doing the action and he's being cool. I want those parts to be slow motion. The rest of the team, it's not that they don't matter, it's just that this video is literally for one player and his highlights. Yeah, I like that. Okay, let's see how this plays out. Okay, so he kind of goes down there and he stays on the ground for a little bit. It was a big hit. I don't want to keep the footage with him just laying there lifeless on the ground. So as soon as he hits the ground, maybe a little bit later, I cut, and then I go back to the footage of him getting up, and then just delete that stuff in the middle. Now let's watch that play back one more time, and then I'll reframe it. Cool, that play looks good. So you'll notice I could have just extended this a little bit and kept it going until this beat right here. Right there, where it starts into the first verse. But I just cut out a little bit because I don't want it to be the exact same thing as last time, where it went from one beat to the next, one measure to the next, right? What I want to put in this little empty space here is a cutaway shot. So something completely unrelated to the player, but still relative to the team or the game environment, maybe a ref or a coach doing something, who knows. So that's what I'm gonna find now. Maybe the player too. Maybe I'll just put in like a shot of him. Ooh, this is a cool shot. This is an example of me trying to get, you know, the artistic look. Got the moon behind the American flag here. Sometimes it's just, you know, it's just finding stuff like this where it's like, it wouldn't ordinarily be in an edit, but since it was something that was there at the game, like, show what's happening at the game. Not any one edit is the same, and it's for reasons like this where I find something that's unconventional for a football edit, just kind of throw it in there. So yeah, right here I want that to be zoomed in on him. Keyframe all this. Okay, and he's moving through the frame, so I'm going to keyframe the movement. When it starts going faster, I need it to be there. And let's have the zoom go back to 1. Right there. Perfect. I love that. And then it like cuts back real quick. He does. And I don't. It takes me a while to catch up with him. I just need to make sure that he's kind of behind these plays right now, but I need to make sure that he stays in the center of the frame. And then I just went through and put the rest of his highlights on top of the music, as well as some B-roll during the slow parts of the song. That takes us to color, and also the sponsor for today's video, which is Dehancer. With Dehancer, there are already dozens of videos titled how to get that film look. And that's great. You know, a lot of creators that Dehancer's reached out to, that's great. But instead of just doing that and being another cookie cutter creator, I wanted to take a video that I was already going to make, you know, editing football videos, and then show how I use Dehancer to actually grade my footage in this edit. I don't use Dehancer for every project, and I certainly don't use every feature of it. There are a ton of things that you can do within Dehancer. It's almost a little overwhelming how much stuff is in there. And knowing none of it going in, you might be a little bit overwhelmed. But if you take it one step at a time and figure out, okay, this does this to my footage, then you'll start to understand how to actually use it on your projects. And in fact, for this edit, I only used two things, the halation and the bloom. And my use case might not be everybody's. I actually use Dehancer most often for my talking heads, stuff like this. Just kind of punch in a little bit of halation and bloom in there. Looks super nice. It's a tool, right? It's an amazing tool, but at the end of the day, it's still just a tool. And it's one that I've integrated into my workflow, and hopefully you can find a way to integrate it into your workflow. If you want 10% off of anything that they offer, just use code JacobDehancer1. You won't regret it. So right now I've got my node tree for this clip here. And on this node here, I've just got the color space transform from DaVinci Resolve. It just pretty much transforms your log footage to Rec 709. If I were to use Dehancer for this project, which I am, just come in here to Effects, scroll all the way down to Dehancer, and I drop that on one of my nodes there. And I'm just gonna give it a little bit more space. And as you can see here, with and without that node, you know, it makes a big difference, but that's just automatically what it does. You could dive a lot deeper into all of these crazy tools here to really change pretty much whatever you want related to film and grain and haze and halation and all and bloom and all that stuff here. That's crazy. I've not even come close to touching all of these different controls. But it's crazy what you can do with your footage from all these different things. So I'm just going to go through and figure out what I've got enabled and disable it because I want to start from scratch here. So I'm just going to enable, disable all of this for now. So Dehancer is sort of like a LUT, but it's a lot more because it's a lot more customizable, and it's not just a drag and drop thing. I mean, you can have it like that if I were to just drag and drop it and have that look. I'm sure that's somebody's look, but it's not mine. My style with football videos is something in between super clinical and super like filmic. I like to have something in between. And so here's like this is just the standard like corrected version of the footage. So I'm going to come into Dehancer now. You have tons of different profiles, Kodak stuff. Haven't touched a single one of them, but I'm sure some of them are great. I like to come in and add some halation. I like to add a little bit of bloom. Not a ton. Bloom and halation almost are like having a mist filter on your lens, but sort of like a fake mist filter here because it's just making anything that's white kind of bloom. So there are times where I wish I would have had this tool simply for the bloom effect because of what you can do with that. I'm going to have it a little bit lower here. I definitely don't want it as high and contrasty as that just was. I'm not typically one for vignettes. I'm going to steer away from that. Yeah, so that's how I use Dehancer in my workflow, but that's not the only thing that I do for color. I'm also going to come in here to these other nodes, and let's make this one exposure. Let's make this one warmth. And we'll make this one maroon. So in exposure, this is obviously where I'm making sure the exposure looks good. I think I already did it. Okay, yeah, so just took that down a little bit because without that, this is, what it looked like without the exposure. Down a little bit. Put that at about 15-ish. Warmth. This is where I just make sure that the white balance looks good. It looks pretty darn good to me. I'm sure anything I were to do would just kind of, I don't know. I think I saw somewhere that there's a better way to make sure your footage is accurately balanced without using temperature and tint. I think I saw somewhere that temperature and tint just ruin your footage if you're messing too much with them. I need to figure out exactly how to make it look better. But that doesn't look terrible for white balance. And then maroon. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. So for whatever school I'm shooting for, in general, I like to make sure that their colors pop just a little bit more. And I want to make them, I just kind of want to refine them a little bit more too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, come into the dropper thing, click the plus dropper thing. I'm just using thing because I don't know what any of these actual words are. And I'm going to select that color until, you know, all these different dials show up on these things. And then I'm going to hit Shift H. That helps me see what is selected. And since red and maroon is such a dominant color in this frame, it's showing that a lot is selected. But I don't want to have that much selected because I'm trying to just make the maroon pop. So I'm going to kind of play with these dials until it's just the maroon that's showing up. That actually might be it right there. That might be what I need. So yeah, as you can see, I'm just kind of getting rid of the grass, all of their skin. I don't want any of that affected in this layer. This layer is strictly for the maroon color. And then once I got that figured out, then I come back into here, these two tabs here. Also, I could put a LUT on here just to affect the maroon if I wanted to. But what I'm gonna do is I can now come in here and like play with some tools, play with some colors, and it only affects that color of the image. Obviously, you know, what I'm doing right now is super extreme and looks terrible. They were obviously not blue. But hey, if I wanted to ever fake anything, I'm sure I could get away with it. This is also why I shoot in log. I just feel like I have more control over the colors in log than in just shooting in standard. But, you know, we don't want to do any of that crap to his jersey. I'm going to be very subtle with the way that I do this. I want to add just a hair, not too much, but just a hair more blue into that. And maybe we'll even do that with, let's do that with a LUT. So that, as you can see, only affected the maroon, which is handy. It's really handy. Made it pop a little bit more. I might just leave it like that actually. And as it shows right here, you can see that this is what it's affecting. That looks cool. I wish I could get it to look like that. But then, you know, with and more without that, looks pretty cool. And sometimes I go a little bit more in depth into color. I really could honestly go pretty in depth. I could make the green punch a little bit more. But this honestly looks really good, and there's no point in completely just going over the top if you don't need to. I just like to make it look kind of clean and cool, and that's good enough for me. I'm just going to apply this to the rest of them. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like without any sound design, just the basic music and footage edit.
This ain't no regular thing. I came for the ring, you know what I mean. I shoot my shot and it's clean. This for my city, yeah, this for my team. If you talking, it's hard to be nice. I play with all of my life. You see my name in the lights. Better keep right, I'm a champion. The game is in trouble. I've been in my depth for the piece of the puzzle. I got it for real. Rest in peace, and think twice if you next to me. It's West. This ain't no regular thing. I came for the ring, you know what I mean. I shoot my shot and it's clean. This for my city, yeah, this for my team. If you talking, it's hard to be nice. I play with all of my life. You see my name in the lights. Better get right, I'm a champion. It's our repetition. I'm stacking these trophies. I'm good with addition. I spit like a pastor. I gave you the vision. Up early morning, enough of the sleeping. My life is a dream, but you wishing you lived it. Haters get livid. My pocket's Pacific. That's deep if you get it. So Tempur-Pedic. I sleep on the critics. Don't feel like competing. I'm hearing these tickets. Well, let me switch the flow, a new bounce. Coming to the den with a lion, I'm gon' pounce. Shh. Know I've been a king for a while. Got a ring and a crown. That's the bling with the blow. What the team is about. Champions.
So that's what it looks like, just the basic like footage on top of music look. But I think that the sound design really just brings it to life. And the way that I'm going to edit the sound is I'm going to break it down into layers. First layer is any actual game audio that I caught while I was at the game. And that's this one right here. So I'm just going to focus on this layer entirely right now.
Trey Stone with the reception.
I like that, okay.
Trey Stone pushing his way ahead for 5. Number 16, Cooper Bryant.
Okay, so after he makes the play and it's over, the announcer is just saying, hey, Trey Stone made a good play.
Ahead for 5.
And then there's, you know, some people clapping on the sideline right next to me.
5,
I'm just gonna kind of lower that because I don't need that to be super loud. 8, 9-ish.
5,
And then he mentions the dude on defense that stopped him, and that's not important at all. I don't need to hear about the people on defense. I'm here to focus on this one player.
You should think twice if you next to me. It's West.
And then before these beat drops, what I like to do, so some of these slower moments, they don't necessarily need sound design. I don't, you know, put a ton of effort into every single clip. Sometimes this stuff doesn't need anything because it's anticipation and you want it to feel like, whoa, what's going to happen? It's kind of empty. And so what I do to bring up the anticipation, what I'm looking for is risers. So stuff that, you know, is like, so I know I want a good riser for that part. So here's what it is with just the riser. So right before the beat drop is when I'm going to have that. Yeah, you can kind of feel like an absence of a deep bass when the riser goes out. You're like, because it's like, and then right before the beat drop, it goes out, and you're like, wait, what? Where is it? Let's just see if you can feel it again right here. Right there. Right before. Doing it up until the beat works. Sometimes I like to have the riser cut off right before so that right before the beat hits, you're left with this bit of anticipation like, you're just holding your breath waiting for it to hit.
Trey Stone with quarterback keeper gets up to about the 25.
And during moments like these, when I have, you know, commentators talking, I'll actually lower the music so that it doesn't feel like they're competing to talk. Because while I want the music to be there and evident and cool, I do want to allow for some of these commentators to talk about the players. Because what's more hype than, you know, having somebody actively, while your footage is going, saying, what a good play, number 11 makes it to the 25-yard line, you know, like.
Trey Stone with quarterback keeper gets up to about the 20.
I lower that just a bit in the middle there. And yeah, that's pretty much just my process of sound designing. I might add some anticipation, maybe some risers at the beginning of the edit so that as you're getting into it, you're like, maybe a whoosh or two. Something I've also done in the past is add in like sound effects of, you know, players being hit. For example, I'll show you what I mean right here. So like some blocking. I've never personally done it, but it also works to like mic up a player. I've never wanted to interfere with anything, but I know that it's definitely possible to just put a microphone on a player and you can kind of capture them actually, like, you know, screaming after they score a touchdown or stuff like that. That'd be, I should do that. I should honestly do that. As I'm saying it, I'm like, why have I never done that? But yeah, that's my process of sound designing. I just go through and try to get the natural audio of them, of the, you know, the crowd cheering. Sometimes I'll find some fake cheers if I don't have any actual sounds of the crowd at the game. And then I throw in like risers and sound effects and see if I have any commentators saying anything about that player, and then see if there's any. If sometimes it seems a little dramatic, I just got to tone down the sound a little bit. But adding in those hits, the players getting, like, you know, the blocks and the tackles and the catches and whatever else, you can't necessarily hear all of that sometimes because maybe they're on the other side of the field, or maybe the crowd overpowers the sound of them getting hit. But sometimes it's a good tackle. It's nice to have the ability to add all of that in post. So in previous football videos I've made, I've had some pretty intense visual effects and overlays on top of them. I'm going to be putting some of those into these, but not a ton. All you got to do is buy some overlay packs. I don't know if I necessarily have any that I recommend. And then you just take those overlays, throw them on top of your footage, turn down the opacity, and figure out, you just figure out what works best for you. Light leaks can act as some great transitions. Same with like glitches. I actually just custom make my glitches. I just change couple frames before and after the clip's cut. Film burn and Super 8 overlays give your footage kind of like a nostalgic and old-timey look. And then with some of my more intense visual effects that I've done on some of my past football videos, those take a lot of time. And to be completely honest, I'm already behind a little bit on getting these edits back to the players. And so I simply just don't have the time to go through and do those crazy keyframing and masking and matte alpha type stuff. I just don't have the time to do it. Okay, and the last thing for this video is just my export settings. Just gonna put an in point at the beginning of the video and an out point where I want it to end. Then go into the delivery page, type in my name, and then honestly, it's pretty straightforward. I use Apple products between my Mac that I edit on, my phone and iPad that I upload stuff with, and so QuickTime is the best format for me. If you're using Windows, I think MP4 is better. Neither one is wrong, and I think both QuickTime and MP4 will work on both, but I know that QuickTime is more optimized for Apple, and MP4 in general is better for Windows, from my understanding. I just keep it at H.264. Timeline resolution is fine because I'm just gonna upload in vertical 1080p. Same with the timeline frame rate. I want 24 frames a second. And then one thing that I will change, not when I'm uploading to YouTube, but when I'm uploading to Instagram, I actually restrict the quality to 20,000 kbs. I think it's kilobytes per second is what that stands for. That just makes it so that it's not so hard for Instagram to take the quality of the video and translate it for Instagram. And then I just keep everything else pretty much on automatic, hit add to render queue, and then hit render, and it'll export it. Simple as that. So that's how I edit football videos, kind of my entire process of how I do it. If you've made it this far, dude, seriously, thank you. I appreciate it. If there's any questions you've got, leave them in the comments. I know this video is all about editing football videos, but I think one of my favorite parts of putting this whole thing together was how many different setups I had. And even if it was like the same setup, how different I could make it look every time I sat down to record. Turn on or off a light in a specific spot. Or for this talking head here, I just did a completely new setup. It's cool to look as I'm editing, I'm like, hey, that frame doesn't look too bad. That frame doesn't look too bad. That looks pretty good too. All right, I'll take it. So if there's anything I've learned through this whole process, it's that teaching is hard, even when I'm just, talking to a camera and editing it down and putting on YouTube. Teaching how to do a process is hard, but I've learned so much even through my own process of how I edit football videos and also just how I make videos in general. So this has been an exhaustive process. I'm super stoked to actually get this video up. But it was super cool to kind of put, an entire editing workflow into one video. It's a huge video, I know, but hopefully you're able to gain something out of it, even if you only watched 5 or 10 minutes of it. So thanks for watching and sticking around, and I'll catch you next time.